all over the world.
Okay.
And another popular flavor, vanilla, is actually the seed pod from an orchid.
Really? I didn't know.
And so it's native to South and Central America, but a lot of our vanilla is grown in Madagascar.
Madagascar. Okay. I never would have known that.
Yep. And it's a neat orchid. It has a little white flower, and it is a kind of a trailing vine-y orchid. So it's a neat one.
Well, this also is a big time for pumpkin spice. You see it all over the place,
Sure.
right? Yeah. So what constitute pumpkin spice?
So I haven't looked up pumpkin spice particularly lately, but cinnamon is common, and cinnamon is from the bark of a small bushy tree that's native to Sri Lanka and India. Nutmeg is also a common spice, and that's from a tropical evergreen tree native to the Spice Islands in Indonesia.
Okay.
And the spice actually comes from the seed, where cinnamon came from the bark. Nutmeg is the seed. And cloves is another popular one. And in this case, the cloves come from a dried flower bud, and native to Malaysia.
Did you ever wonder how people ever found these flavors? I mean, you're talking about going and eating some bark or a seed or a dried flower bud. It's just pick one off the ground and say, man, that tastes really good.
Sure. I wonder that with a lot of foods or a lot of processes that we get in foods. Who came up with that? That was a complicated process. How did we get there? And it's really neat if you want to look up the history of the spices history, because that's the whole reason that they were looking for easier routes for trade to get to the spices that were so valuable that America was discovered. So there's lots of neat history with that, and the spice wars and roads and all sorts of things that came out of that.
It really is interesting when people were trying to put some kind of flavor to food, because it was so salted down years ago to preserve your meat that it didn't taste all that great.
Sure.
And yes, we had salt. That's also another flavor you can have as well.
Yes.
But
it doesn't come from a plant, so
No.
I don't care as much.
but it was very, very needed back in medieval times, for sure, to store your food. There are some plants, though, that just don't have great flavors. I mean, you have some that just don't smell good all the time. You have some that just don't look good all the time. And people say, well, it's a plant, it's beautiful. Not necessarily. And, a lot of times when you're out and about, you step on some plants and you get an odor. Either it's in its transition stage of going from blossoming to dying. But there are some plants out there that have an odor, don't they? Aren't there?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyone that you can think of right off the top of your head that just really stands out is like you just really don't want to be cutting that plant down at this time of year, or stepping on it, or even picking it up?
Well, I can say when, like the brassica family, so cabbage, broccoli, those, or the radishes. Tillage radishes are used for cover crops a lot of times, but they winter kill. And when they winter kill and break down, any of those crops have a really bad odor, like natural gas, kind of. I've noticed it here where some fields are planted in cover crops and have tillage radishes in them, and the odor is pretty strong.
I'll bet. When the wind is just right?
That's for sure.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. All right, very good. So, but holiday time's a good time to experiment with some of these different spices. Maybe you don't use them all the time, right?
Sure. And there's lots of great guides and recipes out there, and discovering if you like them or not, because some people don't like all of the different spices. So it's fun to try and experiment and see what you like.
And you can do that in your baking goods. People can sprinkle a little nutmeg on something, just test it out, and A lot of people say, well, I can't taste the difference. Some people, everybody's taste buds are a little bit different. Their palates
Yep.
are different. And maybe you don't, but maybe another person in your family it really enhances the taste of that cookie.
Sure.
That's why I can never, I remember my mom years ago, she would make cookies, and I always liked mine. Well, okay, maybe a little bit more sugarier than some of the others, but but she would make separate batches for her kids. So she would actually try a batch made one way for one of my brothers, and a batch of let's just say chocolate chip cookies that would be different for my other brother. And then my sister did not want as much sugar, so she would make that different than one for me. Then she'd swap them around to see if we liked it better the other way, so she could eliminate one of those. So she was a smart lady, but she loved to bake cookies, but she knew that if she baked the cookies that we liked, that they would be gone. How's that for a strategy?
That sounds like a pretty good mom.
Yeah, and she made all kinds of great, probably best cookies I ever had. And she had a melted peanut butter cookie, and I don't know what she did. She melted the peanut butter down, and then she had it wrapped in chocolate. And here's your Reese's Pieces, right?
Okay.
Well, but this is all back in the day when Reese's, if it was out, I never heard of it.
Sure.
But she did that, and then she sprinkled it with a little bit of peppermint on the chocolate outside. So it had like 3 different distinct flavors.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really cool. And then she did some other stuff with honey that was amazing. And, she would make some, well, I would say like a hot chocolate mix that she would doctor up a little bit with maybe a little bit of peppermint, maybe a little bit of this. You taste all these flavors today. You see them all over the place. But back in the 60s, 70s, you didn't see these. It was up to the individual people to try things out a little bit different, to change those flavors that everybody can make a cup of hot chocolate. Well, now you can make it with water and a little, pour it in. But my mom didn't believe in that. She made it from milk. She ground her own chocolate. She'd buy chocolate in a block. She liked making hot chocolate really the old-fashioned way. It was good, though.
Pretty neat.
It was good.
Yep.
I loved it. I'd sit there and drink that till I was stuffed. I did. I just love my mom's hot chocolate. But we all of us have a favorite flavor, don't we?
Sure, and or lots of different flavors or different things that we like. That's what's neat about all the options that we have out there.
And as you mentioned, you never know where those flavors are coming from. So when you hear about people talking about different types of plants and the different types of flavors that they generate from those plants, a lot of people may not take it to heart. They may say, I don't know if I want to taste that. It doesn't hurt to taste it, as long as it's not a poisonous plant, obviously. But
Sure.
But there are certain plants, obviously, you don't want to be tasting because their resin or maybe their pollen that comes off there can make you ill.
Yes, there are lots of toxic plants out there, sometimes not to people or just to animals or vice versa. So, only eat the things that you know for sure and try some new things for the holidays.
Sounds good. For your holidays, do you have anything different this year that you're trying yourself?
So for Thanksgiving this last week, I made a different recipe for a cranberry tart, which turned out very good, and everybody really liked.
A cranberry tart?
Yep.
Okay, so...
And cranberries are one of my favorite holiday, cranberry and orange, and I make a cranberry orange pound cake, and give that as gifts a lot of times, and those two flavors go so well together.
So the cranberry tart you made from scratch?
Yep.
Well, that's cool. So obviously, if that was so successful at Thanksgiving, you're probably going to have it again at Christmas, right?
It could be. And cranberries are kind of an interesting one because they are native to North America. So it's one of our holiday foods that is native to North America that have been used for a long, long time. And commercial production actually began in 1816 in Massachusetts. So pretty neat history on that plant too.
And cranberries are very healthy for you, aren't they?
They are.
They help. They help in your kidneys, don't they? Kidney
Yes.
function. Very good. And it keeps healthy kidneys are vital to your lifestyle. So hey,
Yes.
nothing wrong with having a couple of cranberry tarts and say I'm doing this in the thought of keeping myself healthy. Not that they
Yeah.
taste good, but they taste
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
But it's like keeping me healthy too at the same time. And that is also one of the things when you do eat natural foods, they will keep you healthier than processed, these artificial flavors, won't they?
Sure. And the real flavoring is so much better than a lot of the artificial flavorings as far as taste goes, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I look at that as an artificial sweetener with what is it? You have no idea. Most of it's derived from corn, but it may not be. It can be derived from something else. You should know. Anyway, but that's pretty cool. So anything special that you want to tell us before the new year? This will be our last time that we talk to you before 2024. Anything new in 2024 that you'd like to see people do?
Well, if you haven't tried gardening, this is the time to think about that gardening wish list for next year. Seed catalogs have started to arrive. I'm not quite ready for seed catalogs just yet, but
I get it.
It's that time to start checking in and maybe start planning for the new year, particularly on these cold days. That spring is kind of starting to sound good, and we get to plan and dream, and that's part of the fun of winter is planning out that new year.
And maybe even planning a new spot in your yard for a garden, or if you never had a garden before, maybe looking to create one in your yard. Maybe mark it out and say, starting March, I'm going to have all this ready to go.
Yep.
Well, and we'll probably be talking to you again in March or April, somewhere in there.
Yep.
I'm sure we will.
Somewhere in there.
Well, Katie, as always, we appreciate all the input that you have and look forward to talking to you again next year. And we wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and happiest of holiday seasons.
Yes, you too.
Thank you again for calling in on our Extension Wednesday. And, of course, our local extension, 729-3196. But if anybody has any questions that they just heard that they'd like to talk to you directly, can you give us your number?
Sure, it's 573-883-3548. And as always, if you go to your local office there in Salem, they can get in contact with me also.
Absolutely. And, of course, we always try and guide them that direction. But sometimes people have something they want to talk to that person directly.
Sure.
And that might be good, especially if they hear you right now on the radio and say, I want to talk to her about that bark.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, again, thank you for calling in. We
You're
do
welcome.
appreciate it. And again, have a great holiday season. We look forward to talking to you in 2024.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Katie. Appreciate
Thanks.
it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Katie Kamler from the Extension, representing our Denton County Extension today, talking a little bit about different spices you get from your natural plants, even tree bark, things of that nature you may not be aware of. So try some of those different spices out that you might be deriving even from your own plants right here in Missouri. Like I said, cranberry tart, I never would have thought of that, but sounds like it worked for her. So Katie Kamler, our special guest this morning, and we have our spotlight on the hospital coming up about 12 minutes from right now here on KSMO Radio. So we hope you stick around for that. Our forecast does call for sunshine, lots and lots and lots and lots of sunshine today. You're going to probably say, well, we've had lots and lots and lots of sunshine. Yes, we have. But we actually will see a little bit of rain coming into that forecast, which we desperately do need. That's going to be coming up here.